In this episode, we're talking about breaking down exactly how stress, in ways that you may not even recognize, could be quietly sabotaging your fertility. Welcome to the Finally Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, the podcast helping women identify the real reasons you haven't conceived or stayed pregnant so you and your partner can finally grow the family of your dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. Let's dive in, shall we? 3 things you'll gain from today's episode: a real understanding of the different forms of stress your body experiences, how to recognize if you're more stressed than you actually realize, even if your life looks totally fine on the outside, and exactly how stress can impact your fertility and what to do about it. So, stress isn't necessarily the singular thing that you think it is. I feel like a lot of people have misconceptions on what stress is and whether or not they actually feel stress. So, let's start there because when a lot of people hear the word stress, they think about their to-do list, having a hard week at work, having a fight with their partner. And yes, those count as stress, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the different types of stress our body can feel. So our body responds to stress in the same way, no matter how little, how big, or what the source is. So that means your nervous system does not know the difference between an emotional stressor and a physical one. It also doesn't know the difference between if you're running from a bear or if you're in traffic or something like that, or a meeting at work that's maybe causing you some stress. All it sees is there's a threat and it responds accordingly. So let's break down what the different kinds of stress your body might be dealing with. There's psychological and emotional stress. So things like anxiety, overwhelm, grief, relationship stress, even the stress of trying to conceive can be a huge stressor and can be perceived as a threat to your body if it's causing you a lot of emotional stress. And then we have physical stress, like over exercising, under eating, having some sort of chronic illness, poor sleep, and even intense dieting. Some of the things that you might actually think are helping your fertility could actually be hurting your fertility. And then we have inflammatory stress. So this could look like gut dysbiosis, food sensitivities, infections, toxin burden. These all fire off the same stress response internally. And we have blood sugar stress, like skipping meals, eating high carb without protein or healthy fats, energy crashes. Your body has to read and respond to these as emergencies. And then we have environmental and chemical stress. So endocrine disruptors in your personal care products, plastics, pesticide exposure, and there's many, many other things that can go into that bucket. So this is exactly why I work with my clients in the way that I do. We don't just look at how you feel in any regular given day. We're looking at the full picture of what your body is responding to because all of that adds up and it all matters when we're talking about fertility. So, thinking about how you might actually be more stressed than you realize. And this is the part I really want you to sit down and think about. So many women I talk to or I work with personally might say, I don't feel that stressed. And I get it because I used to feel the same way too back in the day when I was working with a functional provider. She asked me what my stress levels were, and I was like, outside of work, like they're really not that bad. And when we peeled back the layers, we actually were able to find that no, there is actually significant stressors in my life. I wasn't perceiving them as stress. So these women genuinely don't feel stressed. But when we take a deeper look at their labs and we dig a little deeper, that's actually telling us a completely different story. So here are just a few signs that your body is in a stress response, even when you might not actually consciously feel like you're stressed. If you're waking up tired, even after a full night's worth of sleep. If you're crashing hard in the afternoon, like you feel like you hit a wall around 2 or 3 p.m. When you get hangry, if you miss a meal or go too long without eating, or if you're having a hard time winding down at night, maybe your mind is racing even when your body feels exhausted. If you're having any bloating, constipation, or diarrhea regularly, that's a sign that your gut is often one of the first places that stress can show up physically. If you're pushing through workouts, even if you feel depleted because rest maybe doesn't feel productive to you. And if your cycle is all over the place, irregular, maybe your luteal phase is struggling, your body is literally putting reproduction on the back burner here. I'd be curious to know if any of those resonate because these aren't just normal life symptoms that we have to deal with. These are actually your body waving a flag saying it's operating in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, making a baby is the last thing your body is going to prioritize. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this can actually impact your fertility. And this might be in ways that you don't realize. So we have cortisol and progesterone. And when your body is chronically stressed, it needs to prioritize the production of cortisol. However, cortisol and progesterone are made from the same raw materials, one being pregnenolone. And when your body is under stress, it has to prioritize survival and it shunts that pregnenolone toward making cortisol over making progesterone. And this is known as the pregnenolone steal. And the end result is low progesterone. Low progesterone can equate to shorter luteal phases, spotting before your period, difficulty implanting, and having a higher risk of early pregnancy loss. So, this is really no small thing. This is one of the most common patterns I see in women struggling to get pregnant and in my clients. And it can be remedied once we address the underlying stress load. Here's one that you might not realize stress can actually impact: blood sugar dysregulation. Blood sugar swings are a stressor in themselves, and they can actually create a very vicious cycle. When your blood sugar drops, your adrenals are going to pump out cortisol to bring it back up. This is why eating within an hour of waking is so important. And when your body is making more cortisol, that equals more stress signaling in the body. And this dysregulation also disrupts insulin sensitivity, which directly impacts ovulation, egg quality, and this can drive higher androgens like testosterone. And when this pattern happens, you can really see and understand how PCOS like patterns evolve over time, even if you don't have a PCOS diagnosis. And this can land true if you are following the most blood sugar supportive diet, but if your stress is not supportive of your blood sugar, you can still have blood sugar dysregulation. And then, of course, our digestion can shut down. Your nervous system has two main modes: sympathetic or fight or flight, and parasympathetic are rest and digest. And you can only actually digest and absorb nutrients in the parasympathetic mode. So if you're chronically stressed, your digestion is going to take a hit. So that means even if you're hitting all the right things, right? Your Brazil nut every day, your grass-fed animal protein, your organic leafy greens, fruits and veggies, if your gut is not equipped to be able to absorb nutrients properly, then it's all for nothing. You can't build healthy hormones, eggs, and uterine lining without being able to assimilate and utilize the building blocks that you might be giving your body. And then we have HPA axis dysregulation. So your HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, is the master control system for both your stress response and your reproductive hormones. And chronic stress can disrupt the signaling at every level of this pathway. It can suppress LH surges needed for ovulation. It can blunt your FSH response. It can throw off your entire hormonal cascade that needs to happen in precision every single cycle for optimal ovulation and conception to occur. This is exactly why in my one-on-one Fertile Mother coaching program, we don't just hand you a list of supplements and call it a day and send you on your way. We're actually using functional lab testing personalized to your situation to actually see what's going inside your body. We look at your cortisol, your HPA axis output, your progesterone, your gut health, your nutrient status, and then we build a protocol that actually addresses your root cause, because you cannot supplement your way out of a stress response that you haven't yet identified. So let's quickly talk about what you can actually do about it, because now you know stress is stealing from your fertility in a very real physiological way. So let's talk about what you can do, because I'm not going to leave you hanging with a problem with no path forward. So number one, you want to identify your actual stress load first, because before you can fix it, you have to know what you're working with. This means taking an honest inventory and looking at all of the forms of stress that we talked about. Are you under eating, over exercising? Do you have gut issues that are creating internal inflammatory stress? Are your blood sugar levels stable throughout the day? This is root cause thinking, and this is what can change everything. And I'll be completely honest with you. Sometimes it's really, really hard to take a self-assessment yourself. And this is where working with a provider who's looking from the outside in can actually help you identify these things, because a lot of times we can be blind, like we have our blinders on, and it can be really hard to identify these things in our own situation. And then we want to be supporting your blood sugar in a very serious way. I would consider low hanging fruit to really address pretty easily. And one of the fastest ways to take pressure off of your adrenals, eating protein with every meal, not skipping breakfast, and stop letting yourself get to the point of being hangry before you do something about it. Stabilizing your blood sugar will directly reduce cortisol output. Prioritizing sleep is so important for your fertility. And I know that it's so easy to get stuck in a very vicious, like poor sleep patterns. Your cortisol rhythm resets every night, and poor sleep is one of the fastest ways to tank your HPA axis function and suppress progesterone. You really want to aim for about 7 to 9 hours. Keep a consistent bedtime and wake time, and get that first morning light exposure to really anchor your circadian rhythm. And then we're going to talk about regulating your nervous system. And this is a daily practice, not just every once in a while. And I'm not just talking about the occasional bubble bath. Like, we're talking real, consistent daily practices that shift your body into being in a parasympathetic mode. Breath walk, taking walks outside in nature, gentle yoga, prayer, meditation, even just honestly eating your meals without looking at your phone, without listening to a podcast, without watching a show. These aren't just luxuries. These are literally signs that you can give your body that you're safe. You are safe enough and nourished to be able to reproduce. And then, of course, we want to address the physical stressors, not just the emotional ones. If your gut is a hot mess, if you have any chronic underlying infections, if your blood work is showing that you have nutritional deficiencies, these are stressors that your body is responding to every single day, day in and day out, even if you feel emotionally calm. So this is where functional lab testing and having a practitioner who's actually equipped to look at this testing through a fertility lens is so valuable. And this is when we can actually see what's driving the stress beneath the surface. So let's bring this all home and recap what we covered today. Stress is not just emotional, it can be physical, inflammatory, chemical, and metabolic. Your body is responding to all of it, whether you feel stressed or not. And you may be more stressed than you realize. Fatigue, gut issues, blood sugar crashes, cycle irregularities, these are all signs that your nervous system is in overdrive. And just remembering that stress directly impacts fertility through the progesterone steal, blood sugar dysregulation, impaired digestion, poor nutrient absorption, the HPA axis. This can all disturb and throw off your ovulation. But the good news is, this is all addressable. You don't have to white knuckle your way through fertility treatments or just try to relax more. When we actually identify your specific stress load, then we can support your body at the root. And things can actually start shifting pretty quickly and in a profound way to support your fertility. So if you feel like you've been doing everything right, your diet, cycle tracking, supplements, maybe even fertility treatments, and you're still not getting pregnant, it's because you're shooting at a target with the lights off and you don't even really know what you're aiming for. And the longer that you stay stuck in that confusion, the more time and energy and joy it drains from your hopes of getting pregnant. And the truth is, you need to identify your specific root causes of fertility struggles and potentially miscarriage. And this is exactly what I offer in my free fertility strategy call. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes and book yours now, and I'm more than happy to help you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on our next episode released every Tuesday and Thursday. Are you ready to finally discover why you haven't been able to get or stay pregnant? The Ultimate Fertility Blueprint is a quick, insightful quiz designed to reveal your overall capacity to conceive and help you discover potential root causes and areas to address to improve your fertility so you can finally get and stay pregnant. You'll find the link in the show notes. As a quick reminder and disclaimer, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult your doctor or healthcare provider before starting any new supplement or protocol, especially if you're actively trying to conceive or undergoing treatment.